Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 10, Farewell. I would call this good riddance, except there's going to be another season after this, so not so riddance. Well, we start this episode at Chateau Picard, where JeanLuc is relaying family stories about how the chateau got shot up in the 21st century, and he's pointing to the bullet holes on the wall and saying that these are the bullet holes. So this must be part of their timeline. That's the implication. He goes on to actually reference that there need to be 2 Renees.
Well, they did talk about that riddle that happened in the last episode where Agborg said that one Renee must live and one must die. And I had a complaint in the last episode because Picard was doing something like, well, I'm not going to let the Borg Queen tell us what to do. And then I was going, but what did she say, Picard? That doesn't make any sense. It's a riddle of some sort. It's something that at face value doesn't make sense. At least with this episode, they were acknowledging that it was a riddle, and then they called it a prophecy, which I personally don't think it's a prophecy coming from the Borg Queen. But that's how they treated it. At least they acknowledged that there was a riddle there of some sort. The writing on this episode was actually a bit better than last week's, because last week's was really bad. Because people were doing things a little bit more, I guess, less silly. They were more thinking about what they were doing. So I thought the writing in this episode was better, including acknowledging that this was some weird riddle that they had to figure out instead of just, well, she's not going to tell us what to do. Do what? Mm-hmm. What is she telling you to do?
However, don't mistake better for this was good.
No, this was not good.
Because the pacing on this episode was really, really poor. They jammed too much stuff into this final episode.
Well, they screwed around. If they would have stopped with this ice crap and all the other stuff they did earlier, they would have had room to do all this stuff. Because, yeah, this episode, they even started a couple of ideas that might go into next season, and it's like, why didn't you start that earlier this year?
Well, they wanted to make sure to get their social commentary on the current state of affairs in the United States into the show, and the story suffered as a result of that. They did this at story's expense. You should never insert some sort of extra commentary that has nothing to do with the story in order to push some, and I hate to say this, agenda so that your story actually suffers. I mean, what are you doing? As a storyteller, what are you doing? You should have been able to tell all you wanted to say in allegory if that's what you were actually trying to accomplish through telling this story. But they just oddly shoehorned it in there, this social commentary on the 21st century in the United States.
Well, what I'm wondering, because last week's episode, there was a lot of bad video compositing of shots, where it looked like they were compositing in actors that weren't actually on the stage at the same time. So what I'm wondering is if some of those ICE episodes earlier, if there was some sort of COVID shutdown or something during the season, and they were running behind, so they quickly whipped out some filler episodes at the beginning and just kind of threw them at the beginning. Because those episodes, the ICE episodes at the beginning, they don't matter. It doesn't matter in this. And we thought so when we watched and reviewed the early episodes. They don't matter. It was just wasting time.
Yeah. So, back to what there was of the story that they crammed into this last episode to sew up the season. So, they're talking about there need to be 2 Renees. It appears like Talon knows something. Of course, she isn't saying. So then she transports everyone back to her place. And she has all this technology stashed away that she hands out to everybody so that they can track Dr. Sung. It becomes clear that Talon is going to transport into where Renee is. And it's fairly well telegraphed that she's planning on taking Renee's place to be the other Renee, the one that dies. So when she transports to go to Renee, JeanLuc Picard, he jumps into her transport bubble. I don't even know what to call that.
Smoke thing. I don't know. The Gary 7 transporter.
Yeah. And so they both transport to where Renee is.
That interpretation of what this means, one Renee must live and one must die, that doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody disguising themselves as somebody doesn't mean you're Renee. It means you're disguising somebody as somebody. And later on, and I don't want to ruin your synopsis, but the way things go down, I got questions. I got lots of questions.
So when they get to their location, Talon and Jean-Luc Picard, to where Renee is, he tells her, no, she can't do this. And of course, yeah, she's telling him that her fate is not his to decide, and that he can't control who he loses, and that she's referring to his mother. So this is all about his mommy issues, that he's trying to prevent her from sacrificing herself. And again, if you've listened to my other videos, you know that I have serious problems with this storyline about him being in his 90s and finally uncovering the memory that his mother committed suicide and he gave her the key to do it. I'm glad the season is over. And we'll see what happens in the next season, because I will watch it, obviously, so you guys don't have to. But
I would like this show to get better.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to.
No.
Because I think every season of both Discovery and Picard, although Discovery I've given up on as far as getting better, the hope is that they took the off season to correct stuff. But when you film these seasons back to back, why? I mean, you're not given time to take feedback back from the audience to see what's working and what's not working and tweak it a little bit.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. So, like, this season 3 was filmed right after season 2, from what I understand. So how are they going to take any feedback back on what happened with season 2 and correct and make some adjustments for season 3? I don't see how they have any opportunity to do that. Maybe later in season 3 they could do that, but I don't have any hope that this Picard series next season, with all the Next Generation people they're bringing back, I don't have any hope that it's going to get better. I really don't. I strongly worry that they're going to character assassinate every one of those characters.
Yeah, so anyway, Seven, Rafi, and Rios, they transport to Sung's compound. Because that's basically what he's got. And it turns out he's not even there. And he's got these drones set to launch so that he can destroy Renee's ship in case he fails at the launch to stop her, because that's where he is. Suffice it to say, the trio at Sung's place, they managed to gain control of the drones and destroy them.
And that was so stupid. These things are encrypted. If I had access to our ship, maybe I could break, or they're not maybe, but I could break the encryption. So the way of solving it, like, she was taking panels off these things and, like, I don't know, look like alligator clipping and just doing this hard, I think she called it like hardwire hacking or something. And like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It just seems like you're just ripping off a bunch of panels and jiggling some wires, and somehow you're going to break into his computer system there for those drones and take them over.
One thing I will say, I noticed one positive thing that I want to give them credit for with this, and this is probably the makeup department, that Rafi's knuckles on her hands, they were all scratched up and scabby and bloody looking, like she'd been fighting. So they actually did a good job with that, of making sure she actually looked like she'd been fighting. So, back at the launch site, we see that Talon finds Renee, and she basically tells her, you know, I'm your guardian angel, and I've been with you your whole life, and you've seen me, blah, 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 and I hope you trust me now. So the next scene we see is what appears to be Renee leaving that room and going straight up to Dr. Sung and saying that there's a crazy woman saying she's my guardian angel. And he's like, oh, let me help you get out of here. What happened was, apparently he had some sort of neurotoxin in a false palm on his hand, and that's how he administered it to what actually turns out to be Talon. Talon is a Romulan, and her eyes are going all bloodshot as she's dying in Jean-Luc's arms, and it's like, why does she have red bloodshot eyes? I thought she was a Romulan. Shouldn't her eyes be, I don't know, like having a green bloodshot moment?
How did a neurotoxin designed to work on a human being, in this case a specific human being, Renee, how did that work? Because Sung didn't know that was a Romulan. He thought that was Renee. And this thing was designed for her. So even if it was just a generic for a human being neurotoxin, I mean, yeah, it probably would make a Romulan sick, but are we really sure it would kill her?
Yeah, I just was like, whatever. Oh yeah, and as Talon was dying in Jean-Luc's arms, the rocket is launching, so she sees that she was successful in making sure that Renee was able to go on her mission. And so as Talon is dying in his arms, JeanLuc is telling her, look up. And that seems to be their weird common theme throughout this season, this look up stuff, like his mother used to say to him at the beginning. I don't understand why they think that just repeating these phrases and having different people repeat the same phrase apparently is supposed to be so meaningful.
Can I ask a question about this whole Renee thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
They kept calling it a prophecy of one Renee must live, one must die. And I guess to give Picard credit, he was like, well, we don't know that's what that means. That's one interpretation. I don't understand. I kept asking during the episode, how is this actually fulfilling any sort of prophecy? First of all, it was the Ag board that told you that. 2, what actually happened with Renee Picard, the real one? Did she like sneak out back and then like sneak her way in the rocket? I guess
that's the implication, yeah.
Because after Soong poisoned this person, where did he go?
Apparently he went home because...
But shouldn't he have made sure that... Because this is the part I don't get.
But he didn't fail?
Yeah, because if Renee didn't make the mission because he got her, he killed her, these missions have backups because they're so expensive that you don't just want to put all your eggs in one basket. So I have to assume there was a secondary person that was going to take Renee's spot.
Yeah, but the Borg Queen told him that it was Renee in particular that he had to get rid of, that she couldn't go on this mission. So I think he thought once he had disposed of Renee, or at least he thought he had, he just went home. So he thought it was over.
He didn't think he had to scrub the mission because some other person wouldn't have made that same discovery.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I
as long as that's
saw
what the explanation is, I mean, I'll just shrug my shoulders and go, okay.
Yeah, so he's real surprised when he sees on the TV that the rocket went up and there's Renee being interviewed. So he clearly failed. So as he's watching that, he notices that all of his files are starting to disappear. They're all being deleted remotely. And as it turns out, Corey, not Soji, is at a library somewhere, and she is going through and deleting all of his files. At least that was an interesting moment. Where did she get that computer?
I don't know.
Yeah, so many questions. I mean, how is she surviving without him? As far as I knew, she'd never actually left the house before, and now she's out there on her own. I don't understand how she's not, sleeping on the street somewhere.
Yeah, or just being confused about being on her own, because Dad provided food, shelter, clothing, controlled climate environment for her.
Yep.
And she's out on her own now. This should all be new to her. And then somehow she gets this VR headset thing, and she's able to tie into the Wi-Fi at the library and then somehow hack into Soong's... Yeah, she'd probably have an account on there. But I mean, she knew... Again, the question is, if you were in Soong's place the entire time, how would you know to get into that system from outside?
Yeah.
Like, how would you even know the IP address to get into the place? I mean, I'm using 2020 technology terms here.
Well, it's 2024, so one would think that they would still apply. So yes, how would she have known how to remotely access his files? Didn't he have that stuff locked down?
Well, I know with our dwelling here, if I'm somewhere else, I can't get by our router. I shut off our router so it doesn't accept any sort of administrative panel access from the internet. And I'm sure Soong did the same thing. So just because you know the passwords to get into this or that, I have to assume, why would Soong even allow anybody into his system from the outside world? He spent all his time in that place.
Well, yeah, I mean, the trio, Rafi 7 and Rios, they couldn't hack into the drones without physically going in and
ripping wires out.
Yes,
and doing
exactly.
crap.
But Soji apparently can remotely access all of his files to the point where she could delete them all. You're telling me he didn't have them backed up somewhere? I mean, there's so many problems with that.
Yeah, that was the thing too. And it's like, because here on the NAS, we have a drive backup of our, an off-storage drive backup of what's on our NAS. And this data is so important to him, you would think that he would have at least some storage somewhere about maybe not the up-to-date latest information, but like a month ago or something. And I realize that I'm going through the weeds here, and the answer is and you're going to talk about this, I'm sure, in a minute. Soji is, or whatever her name is that special. And we actually find out how special she is.
Hold on. So she goes through and deletes all of his files, and so all of his electronic files are gone. So you see him open up a drawer and pull out a paper file. And yeah, on the front of it says Project Khan. So
is everybody in this whole universe somehow related to Khan?
Well, they're obsessed with Khan. Like, a new Trek is obsessed with Khan.
I don't understand this whole galaxy that they, the secret hideout people have built. It seems so small. Everybody knows each other. Starships are named after people we've seen. Now everybody knows Khan. Everybody's related to Khan somehow. Why? The galaxy seems so small when you have these sorts of things, when everybody is somehow related to Khan, either directly related through genetics or, oh, I helped build him. Okay, now I realize what this was leading into was the eugenics war stuff, and that would make sense. Well, you know, old man, that the eugenics war happened and Khan was part of that. Sure, but why did they have to do the story like this where he pulls up somebody named Khan?
Well, I would have assumed that it wouldn't have been called Project Khan.
Exactly. That was one person's name.
I mean, I would have probably called it Project Superman or something like that.
Or Augments, I think, is what the Enterprise, the Bacula Enterprise called that project, or a similar project, was the Augments.
Yeah.
Yep, Project Khan. I go, okay.
Yeah. After Corey is finished deleting all of Sung's files, then she gets a message on her computer, just like Sung did from Q, except we don't know who this message is from. It's just telling her to meet this person at a certain time and place. So she goes, and it's Will fucking Wheaton. I used to be Wesley Crusher, but now I'm some sort of traveler person who is apparently the boss of all the watchers like Talon, and you are awesome, but you can choose to be a normal person, or you can choose to be something great and come with me and become a traveler.
A few episodes ago, this was when Picard and his mom, and he talked about, I imagined her as an older lady serving tea, blah, blah, blah. And that was from the first season episode where no one has gone before.
Yep.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, the reason they were in that place to begin with in the Next Generation episode, where they were kind of, their dreams were coming true, was because the Traveler moved them to Kaczynski and the Traveler moved them to a different place. So that's where you found out about the Traveler, and that's how the whole Traveler stuff got started. And later you found out that in a different episode that Wesley Crusher joined the Traveler, whatever the hell that was. It started in this episode where no one has gone before, the same episode that had Picard's mom in it, the Vision. So it's almost like the people who wrote this, they watched like one Next Generation episode and it was that.
Yep.
And then somebody told them, oh, in a later episode, he becomes a Traveler. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Wesley Crusher's a Time Lord now because he's a traveler of all of time and space.
Yeah, your sister, was it your sister? She joked
it was
about
my sister.
that. She's like, oh, that's Star Trek Time Lord, is it? And then we stopped for a second and said, yeah, I guess that's how they're going to treat it. This is a Star Trek Time Lord, just, like the Doctor from Doctor Who. So, okay. Sure.
Yes, and then he said something like, the last time I told a joke, it changed an entire century of history.
So I'm really careful about my words now.
And it sounded like the pretentious crap that we've been getting from Doctor Who lately, where they just make these grandiose claims that a common person would think was nonsense. And it fell flat with me. And Will Wheaton's acting just...
It's hard to take Will Wheaton seriously because when you watch that CBS show that happens after the Paramount Plus shows, I don't even know how to describe what he's doing there, but you can just see the sellout in him.
It came across to me like Will Wheaton was trying very hard to not laugh the entire time he was doing that scene. That was just the impression that I got.
Yeah,
he was trying hard not to smile, like how compulsive liars do, and you notice that they're giving themselves away because that big smile they have on their face where they're trying to bullshit you.
Well, and plus
that's what this felt
like.
Plus
they keep talking to try to, they're trying to figure out how to play you while they're talking. So yeah, he came across more like a con man than any sort of wise traveling person.
Yeah, so of course she goes with him and they dematerialize.
Yeah, it was like some sort of transporter effect or something. I'm not even sure how that works either, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yep. So back at the chateau, we've got Seven, Rafi, Rios, Teresa, and her kid. I guess his name was Ricardo, maybe? Because I think Picard says it later. And, of course, Seven is saying, oh, we live here now, which, frankly, I understand that sucks. I'd be upset by that, too, because it's kind of like, what do we do now? We're supposed to go out and get jobs because we don't have any money.
Every day we wake up and realize the century we're in now. I'm like, man, so I understand.
Yeah, you can't even escape by watching TV these days.
No, because the TV is just a reflection of the crap we're living in. It's like, that's not escapism.
Yeah. So Rios is telling them to come to L.A. Rafi turns to Seven, and this is about Seven's Borg implants, and she's asking Seven, are you okay with this? And of course, Seven's okay with it, maybe better than okay. Rafi is like running at the mouth with some horrible mouth diarrhea, and so then Seven's response to that is just go ahead and kiss her. So apparently they have solidified their relationship now.
And that was such a weird kiss. There was like no chemistry there. It was just, ugh.
Well, there's no chemistry on any of these shows anymore with people kissing. It just, I don't know. It's like mannequins going at it. It's just very weird.
Yeah.
We see JeanLuc walking through the chateau, and he's got the key to his mom's room in his hand, and he finds the stone in the wall that the key is behind, where he pulls it out when he's a kid and uses it to unlock the door where his mother is being kept, and she gets out and goes and kills herself. So that's when Q shows up and says bravo, because Picard chose to remain the same person, to not try to change his own fate, his mother's fate, his timeline. He decided to just let his fate be what it was. And I guess Q is proud of this. Because Q actually he states, you thought about destroying the key, and what would have happened if you had, and he tells Picard that he's absolved himself for, I guess, the blame that he felt, the shame, the guilt, for helping his mother to end her life. He said something like, now that you've absolved yourself, now you can be loved. The whole thing is like, this whole thing was all about helping JeanLuc free himself from this terrible suppressed memory that kept him from forming romantic relationships. And now Q put him through all of this so that Picard can get with a woman and not be alone.
But like within TNG's canon, that's just wrong.
Yep.
Because Picard lived an entire life in that probe. And that's where he got his little flute from. And there was that one episode where there was some scientist lady that was on board, and he formed a relationship. They were kind of dating in secret, like hiding in the Jeffries tubes and stuff, dating. What they have decided to make the theme of this whole season is that Picard was alone and didn't have people around him, romantically or otherwise, because he had all this guilt from when he was, 8 years old, and what happened to his mother.
Yep.
And that because he went through this process that Q made him do, because Q was making him be an improved Picard, that now he can go out and form relationships with people.
And why did Q do this? Essentially what it is that Q is dying alone, and
Picard.
He doesn't want that for JeanLuc Picard. So all of this was done because Q doesn't want Picard to die alone.
What they have done to Patrick Stewart's JeanLuc Picard is they said that he was mentally and emotionally damaged for his entire run in TNG. So the very first moment you saw him in Encounter at Farpoint, all the way up through the TNG movies, he has had nothing but severe mental problems with this guilt that stop him from forming relationships with anybody. It's not that he's a private man or that any of that stuff's going on. Nope, there was some mental problems with Picard, and that's why he did this. Not that he was a private person, not at all. He had this guilt, and only when he turns 94, 97, whatever he is, and Q helps him out, is he going to be free of this. Now, just remember, this entity that Q is talking to is a Cylon. Because at the end of season 1, he was put into an android body. This isn't even real Picard. This is a copy of him, a Cylon, a whatever you want to call it. This is not real Picard. So what is the what is the weight here? I mean, it would have been nice if Q would have said something like, I realize that you wanted to try the other end of this, being a potential immortal, but realize that this is not something that's good for anybody. You can see me now. And like, my last gift I'm going to give you is to make you human again. And then you could have undid that stupid Cylon robot body that he was put into season 1.
Yep.
But no. So all this character stuff they're doing, he's dealing with a Cylon. It's not actual Picard. I don't know if these people forgot what was in season 1. I've heard some people say, no, it's the same person. No, it's not. They copied his stuff into this robot body. And then real Picard died.
Yeah.
They don't have the ability to copy somebody's, I don't want to go down a religious path, but somebody's soul into this creature. It's a copy. It's a Cylon. So what does this have to do with anything? What growth has happened here? I am so confused and done with this show. Because, again, I look online and people are like, oh my God, that Q thing, that's like the only thing in the whole series that felt right. Really? Try rewatching it again knowing that he's a Cylon. Mm-hmm. Is that profound? Is that still great? Q gave a gift to Rafi that showed that he still had some ability to undo something that was done, that was life-changing. Why couldn't he have given Picard back his mortality? Yes, I remember they said at the end of season 1 that robot was going to die in a normal age, blah, blah, blah. But he's still a Cylon. He's not a human being.
So, as you said, Q has one last surprise, and he flat out states that he's going to die, sending them all home. At which point Rios tells everybody he's not going. He's going to stay there with Dr. Teresa and her kid. And
all his knowledge of the future, he's just going to stay there in the past. And Picard's okay with that. Yep.
He just never fit in his own time, and this is where he belongs. And Picard's response is, well, make a good future. Ay.
He's got the doctor as his girlfriend/wife, and then the kid.
Yep.
So that's nice. He's got a family now in the 21st century.
Yeah, so Q says it's time for him to go. He hugs JeanLuc, and...
Well, I think Picard hugs him, doesn't he?
Oh.
Picard's... there's something about loneliness, or I did this, and then Picard's like, but I can do this now. I guess because Q helped him, and he walked up and gave him a hug. Picard gave Q a hug. Yep. It was so sad.
Yep, it's time to go, but... JL tells him, or Jean-Luc tells him that he's not going alone.
Yep.
Isn't that the point of all of this? And then Jean-Luc walks up and gives Q a big hug, at which point Q says, see you out there, and he snaps his fingers. So they're back on the Stargazer, and the Borg is attacking. La Vie en Rose is playing, the Borg Queen is playing this music that Jean-Luc had told Agnes calmed him when he was a child. At which point, Jean-Luc Picard turns off the auto-destruct and tells everyone to stand down. States that the Borg Queen has had 400 years to contemplate what that song meant to him. At which point, we get the face reveal, and sure enough, it is Agnes Jurati underneath.
Agborg.
Who is the Borg Queen. And
with all her tentacles and everything.
Yeah. So anyways, there's some galactic event that is happening that I still...
The way they explain that, it was so stupid. It's like somehow there's this galactic event that's going to take out an entire sector. And then later when you see it, it's like this vortex or something opens up and like this beam of whatever shoots in one direction. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how is that going to take out a whole sector of anything? And then you have to tell the rest of the story before I can complain about the rest, so please go ahead.
Oh, God. So, at this point, Seven gets a field commission from Admiral Picard.
Which is a callback, if you remember, from their own continuity. So again, I got to give them credit in quotation marks. When Rafi said, you would have made a good Starfleet captain, and Seven said, I tried, but Starfleet wouldn't let me in because I was assimilated, basically saying that Starfleet is some sort of bigoted organization that wouldn't let a Borg into their happy family. So by Picard giving her a field commission, because remember, Rios is gone, he was the captain of this new Stargazer, somehow she leapfrogs over all the other people on that ship, and now she's going to be captain of this ship for this. I don't know if it's for this mission or just forever. It doesn't matter.
Well, according to Jean-Luc Picard, she's the biggest expert on the Borg in all of Starfleet, apparently. So, yeah, that's why she gets this field commission.
How well does she know that ship? Remember in the motion picture when Kirk was on the refitted Enterprise and he was reminded over and over that right now he doesn't know that ship as well as his first officer because it's been refitted. So Seven's been out of it for a while. How well does she know what this new Starfleet Stargazer is capable of and what the technologies are? Now, I'm just going to let it happen. It's like, whatever. They have got this Borg situation with this galactic thing. Fine. Seven is now in charge of the Stargazer. She's now acting captain. So, okie dokie.
Yep, so anyway, what the story is that the Borg Queen tells them that she needs all of their shields on their ships in order to prevent this galactic event from taking out the whole quadrant. Picard orders everyone to relinquish control of their ships to the Borg Queen. She's trying to harmonize their shields.
And as they're flying, these ships in formation, the CGI that you're seeing, they look... Now, again, maybe this was a coincidence or I've had it with this show, so it's fine. But as they were flying, you kind of saw the outline of their collective shields forming a shape. And to me, it kind of looked like an old school, like when Captain America has a shield. So they're using their shields to form a shield in the shape of a shield. It's kind of like some sort of GoBots or something, again, maybe that's just me, but as they're flying and they're trying to line up with this event, their outline looks like it's a shield, like you would hold in your hand, like if you were a soldier, an oldie soldier or something.
Well, it reminded me of that Doctor Who episode with the dogs and all of their ships forming that giant
which was really
shield around the Earth.
Which was really stupid too.
Yeah, so anyway, the Excelsior's shields aren't working properly. They need to be recalibrated, so they're contacting that ship, and lo and behold, who answers? It's Elnor.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Q did something good.
So there's Q's gift to Rafi. Elnor is alive.
So Q can give Elnor back his life and to give Rafi back Elnor because there's like a surrogate son thing going on there because of, well, I'm not going to get into that. But he couldn't give Picard back his humanity to snap him out of that Cylon body and put him back into his real body. And again, by putting him in, that's going with the assumption that his soul or whatever is trapped inside that Cylon robot body. Like, I don't buy any of that. That's a copy of Picard walking around. I'm sorry, no matter what anybody else says, it's a copy. Are you really the same person? I mean, that's an interesting philosophy. Never once did they talk about that. Never once did Picard. I mean, I remember, again, going back to Generations, when Captain Kirk was there with Picard, and he was jumping that horse over that stream, and he was saying, I've made this jump 100 times, and I'm always, adrenaline flowing every single time, but this time it didn't happen. And that's because he's in the Nexus, and it's not real. And I thought at some point, with Picard, they were going to do something similar where he would talk about, I was on this archaeological thing, or I was reading this book, and I always get emotionally moved by this, but ever since I got moved into this robot body, that's not happening. I stupidly thought in season 2 they were going to deal with this, that he's a Cylon now. Nope.
No.
So I don't buy any of this crap, any of this Q crap, because Picard came into this season as a Cylon, and they didn't address it at all. The only time they addressed it was when he was getting his heart jump-started, and he blew up the defibrillator. That was it. And even that was like iffy. It was stupid. So I'm not buying any of this crap. I'm not doing it. They didn't touch on the thing that was important to me, which was, what is Picard like in this body now? Is he the same Picard? Does he have the same values as old Picard? I have no way of knowing that because this Picard is so weirdly different. Is that supposed to be just because Patrick Stewart's reinterpreting the character? Or the Cylon replication is just doing something different?
So anyways, they got all the ships lined up with all their shields. And then that big hole in the space there blows out some energy beam. And the ships all hold it back. So...
with their giant mega shield.
Oh, God. So...
their GoBot shield, they're holding it back.
Yeah, and apparently it forms a new transwarp conduit, but they have no idea who created it. And at this point, Agnes Borg Queen saved billions of lives, and now she's requesting Federation membership so that they can be the guardian at the gates of this new transwarp conduit, and they reference some big galactic threat, but they don't know who or what it is, which just seems like crap to me. The Borg Queen, who is able to make these prophecies and sees all these different timelines and everything, she has no idea who this new galactic threat is. Oh, okay. So that was the end of that. So then we see Guinan talking to JeanLuc.
Whoopi Goldberg Guinan.
Yes, Whoopi Goldberg Guinan. She has a picture of Rios and Dr. Teresa, and she's telling Picard how, well, she knew them, apparently, even though she'd never met them before. So I guess I don't even know what she'd do, go looking for them.
I don't know. But she gave a nice little piece of information to Picard about Rios.
Yeah, well, Teresa died of old age, and Rios died in a bar fight. Which was over medical supplies. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know what to do with that. Whatever. And his last breath was through a cigar. I mean, it just, I don't know. I guess they think that that's supposed to be, I don't know. He died the way he lived. It just,
He had a good life. He lived the life he wanted to live, and he died by stealing medical supplies. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ricardo's very proud of his dad for getting killed stealing medical supplies.
Well, was he stealing them, or was he protecting someone else from stealing them? I mean, that's what I
even if
figured.
He was protecting the medical supplies, it's like, really? I mean, that's the way you're going out? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, it just...
And sucking on a cigar, and Whoopi was saying that... Guinan was saying that. Like, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, oh, he died the way he wanted to live, and it's like, whatever.
With all of his knowledge of the future and technology and flying and everything, I mean, yeah, he would have had to be careful, but it's like, not like these people seem to give a real shit about the timeline. That's what his contribution was. Dying in a bar fight over medical supplies.
Yeah, because, see, I didn't assume, and again, maybe I misinterpreted, by them basically saying it was in a bar fight. It's not like she said something like, yeah, and he was in a warehouse protecting this village's medical supplies. Because that might be a heroic way to go out. She described it as like a bar fight over medical supplies. It's like, that just sounds stupid to me.
Yeah. Why wasn't he killed in some sort of mudslide trying to save a village or something like that? No, he was killed in a bar fight.
In a nearly meaningless act, he was just killed.
Ugh. So, anyways, JeanLuc, Seven, Rafi, and Elnor are all there in, I guess, Guinan's bar. And they're all having
10 on Forward Street.
Yeah, they're all having a drink, and they're a family. Though that group is a family.
He's got a found family now. He can now be close to these people.
Yep. So then he goes home to his chateau, and that's where Laris is. Why he's having a drink with everybody else before he even goes home to Laris, I don't know, but whatever.
And it was funny because your mom watched this with us. She was getting confused by all the scene changes throughout this whole season. When we saw Laris, she's like, I thought she just died earlier in the episode, and we had to explain to her that no, that lady looked like her and acted a lot like her, but that wasn't her. That was a watcher that just happened to look like her, who also happened to be Romulan.
Well, yeah, because my mom hasn't seen all of the episodes. Uh-huh. So yeah, she wasn't aware of Laris Talon and all that. Yeah.
I wish I wasn't aware of all that.
So anyway, JeanLuc finally gets home, and Laris has had the solarium where his mom hung herself restored, and she's leaving. At which point, I don't even understand, like, that stupid conversation, and
I don't even know what they were saying.
Yeah, they talked some bullshit, and
because at first I thought they were gonna, smoochy, which would be weird anyway, because you just held somebody who looked just like that and she died in your arms.
Yep.
So that would be weird anyway, but I don't think that was the case at all. She was just gonna leave, and there was some metaphysical gobbledygook crap that they were talking before she left.
He said it's better to look forward than, to look back. And then they're, like, talking shit, holding hands, and, like, the camera zooms out from the chateau, and that's how it ends.
The end.
Yeah.
I will say this was better than last week's, as far as just as a piece of an hour watch television to watch.
Yeah.
And I will say 2 parts. One, I'm prefacing all of this. This did not feel like Star Trek or JeanLuc Picard.
No.
However, earlier in the season, the first couple of episodes, I said, if you forget this is Star Trek and just take this as some sort of fan film or something, it's not so bad. This episode felt like fan film again.
Yeah, it did.
The last episode and a couple before that did not. They were just stupidity.
Yep.
This felt like a fan film again. So if you could just forget that you're trying to watch official CBS-made Star Trek and you just imagine you're on YouTube watching a fan film by somebody, it was what it was. It was okay. I mean, with all the crap that was in there, all the Easter eggs they were throwing in there, it was okay. And I did say in our review we posted earlier about Strange New Worlds, I was going to make a comparison after watching this. And I think that this season finale episode, as far as just watchable television, I'm not talking Star Trek, just watchable television, this Picard episode was more watchable than Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
Which was nonsensical. There was so much nonsense in there, my brain was hurting. Now, neither of these were Star Trek. Both Picard's finale and Strange New Worlds, neither of those were Star Trek. But if I had to recommend one of these two to watch and go, look, this is just like a fan film on YouTube, I would recommend watching this finale because at least you could see where they were trying to shove Easter eggs in and trying to be respectful to the characters, and by trying, they failed, but they were trying. Whereas Strange New Worlds, that just rubbed me the wrong way. Yep. So I made a promise in that video I was going to let people know what the old man thought anyway. And the old man thinks that both of these suck, but the Picard finale sucked slightly less than Strange New Worlds. And this Picard finale is the end of season 2. Strange New Worlds is the beginning of season 1.
Yep.
Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. So, after we finished watching Picard last night, my mom and sister didn't like Picard. They didn't like Strange New Worlds. So I said, you know what? I'm going to show you episode 1 of The Orville. And they both enjoyed that show quite immensely.
Yeah, a lot of times if they don't like something, they'll pull out their cell phone and start messing around on there. Nah, they kept their attention was on the screen the entire time.
And they laughed at some of the jokes. They really
They groaned at some of the
shows.
bad jokes, too.
Yeah.
But at least they were paying attention. They weren't offended, necessarily.
Yeah. So they liked The Orville, but they hated new Star Trek. And then when I told them that CBS had turned down Seth MacFarlane's proposal for a new Star Trek series, so they just filed off the serial numbers and he created The Orville and put it on Fox, they couldn't believe that CBS was stupid enough to turn this down and make that other crap instead.
Yep. That night ended well. We ended watching Old Wounds, which I believe is the episode title of the first episode of The Orville, and everybody in the room enjoyed it.
Everybody was happy.
Because Mollie and myself have seen that several times, but those two haven't. So we all watched it together, we all enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to June when we get season 3 of The Orville.
Yep, The Orville. Good family entertainment.
Family entertainment's the important piece there.
Yep. So, anyway, tell us what you thought of this final episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Picard. As I said, for me, the pacing was off. It felt a bit schmaltzy as far as more like fan fiction than professional television. But all in all, I liked it better than the first episode of Strange New Worlds.
I guess we'll leave it at that. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and as Mollie said, leave some comments. I'd like to have a discussion about what you guys thought. Take care.